Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
The Leave campaigner, Arron Banks, says there is no evidence he was involved in a conspiracy with Russian officials in the run-up to the EU referendum. Appearing in front of MPs, Mr Banks, who co-founded and helped to fund the Leave.EU campaign, accused MPs on the Digital, Culture, Media and Sport Committee of being Remainers, attempting to discredit the campaign for Brexit. John Pienaar reports from Westminster.
Just this way, chaps.
They didn't look shamefaced today, not when protesters handed them pork pies, that's slang for lies, in an anti-Brexit stunt, not over claims they conspired with Russia over Brexit.
It was helped quite a lot with some Russian money, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
Nigel Farage was a famous face of the campaign. Arron Banks put millions where the UKIP leader's mouth was, into the Leave.EU campaign. But did he collude with Russians, including Moscow's ambassador? MPs wanted answers and they got denials and more.
We've now got a full-scale Russian witch hunt going on. You know, before that all occurred, there was no issue.
With Leave.EU spokesman Andy Wigmore alongside, they admitted meeting this man, Russian Ambassador Alexander Yakovenko, several times. Said they offered little beyond the phone number of Donald Trump's transition team, and they volunteered their Russian emails, mockingly marked top secret, which they'd already passed to the US Embassy.
We have been pretty open about everything that we have done, and we've done nothing sinister.
What were you hoping to gain? What were you going to get out of this?
I was hoping for a good lunch, and that's what I did gain from it. But I mean, if you...
Many good lunches, or...?
Oh, no,
The first one was the best.
The first one was the best.
Did you ever accept money from the Russian government to get on a referendum?
Yet.
Arron Banks brushed off the fact he'd met a Russian businessman and discussed a gold mine deal.
Did you do business in Russia as a consequence of these meetings you had?
Yeah, that's a, you know, I've got no business interests in Russia, and I have done no business deals in Russia.
It got tense.
I know that you're all Remainers, I think. All Remainers? Hands up? Yeah, I think so. You've got a vested interest in trying to discredit the Brexit campaign.
He'd already tried to put the MPs in the dock.
Are you the MP that got drunk in the House of Commons and harassed a woman and got drunk on a karaoke evening?
No.
Well, good, but one of the committee is.
And it ended abruptly. He decided time was up.
It'd be great if you could just give us 5 minutes.
The word is no.
Proving suspicions is often hard, but investigations are continuing.
Do a selfie, hang on.
They seemed sure of getting the last laugh. John Pienaar, BBC News, Westminster.
Meantime, the man who bankrolled the Leave.EU Brexit campaign told MPs today there is no evidence he was involved in a conspiracy with Russian officials. Arron Banks says he did discuss Brexit and Donald Trump's election with the Russian ambassador to the UK in 2015 and 2016 as he arrived to give evidence. Anti-Brexit campaigners were there to meet him.
Pies on ice, please, have a pork pie. No more porky pies.
Can I have the
Take
big
the big
one?
one, it was specially made for you.
Hold on a second, just come
No
back.
more porky pies.
What would you like to say to us?
I'd just like you to, please, we don't need any more lies.
We're not telling lies.
You mean like...
You can. You're taking everything else from us, so why not take your
My
pie?
darling, we haven't.
You have.
No, we haven't.
You're taking my EU citizenship away from me.
But you did have it your own way for 40 years. No one was asked the question. So they asked the British public the question.
But they did ask the
and
question.
And they voted and they gave their decision. 17.4
million people.
people.
It was helped quite a lot with some Russian money, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't, he says. Now, Mr Banks had this response to claims he'd had a negative influence on world politics.
Well, I like to think I'm an evil genius with a white cat that kind of controls the whole of Western democracy, but clearly that's nonsense.
Tom Hamenter is at Westminster for us. Hello to you. Tom, he seemed to take all this in his usual light-hearted fashion, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't think he'll be losing too much sleep about it. They were clearly revelling in the spotlight, but they are deeply serious allegations that are being put to Arron Banks and Andy Wigmore, his right-hand man, effectively, Leave.EU, which was one of these groups that was part of the Brexit campaign. And they are accused of being agents of the Russian state. Yes, they do have links with Russia, they said. Yes, they do enjoy long, boozy lunches where there's lots of business talk and lots of political bravado. But no, there is no wrongdoing or influence that they brought to bear on the EU referendum in the UK. So deeply serious questions. They produced Arron Banks' passports as evidence that they hadn't been in Russia in a particular time frame, and also a brown envelope that they produced to the Committee of MPs, marked top secret, trying to give over the evidence that any allegations of meetings with the Russians that they had, that they'd actually passed that on in turn to the Americans. So a quite complex web, and an extraordinary end to this session. Just as the MPs wanted to go for further questioning down particular routes, this happened.
I appreciate the time, but it'd be great if you could just give us 5 minutes so Mr. Vickers can finish his question. You sure?
No, the word is no. When you went out, you said 20 minutes, and I think we've run past 20 minutes, and I'm sorry, but there it is. Okay.
And so with those questions hanging in the air, Mr Banks just simply left the session, went off to lunch with some Democratic Unionists in Parliament that he'd promised to have a lunch date with. I can't remember many people doing that to a group of MPs in a select committee environment. But there are serious questions beyond all the pork pies and all the funny moments of that session. There was certainly serious questions, and Stephen Kinnock MP, one of those parliamentarians who believes this has to be properly scrutinised by the police, not just the Electoral Commission. He says the National Crime Agency have to now get involved and truly have a forensic approach to unpicking all those links to Russia and whether there was any undue influence from Russia in that EU referendum.
OK, Tom, thank you.
Now to another Brexit-related event today, the appearance of the businessman who bankrolled the Leave.EU campaign in front of MPs who are probing fake news and the misuse of data during the referendum campaign. The day began with Arron Banks being confronted by a pro-Remain campaigner who accused him of telling porky pies. But it ended with him chewing the ears off MPs on the Culture Committee before he walked out saying he was late for a pre-booked lunch. Michael Crick tries to digest what went on.
3 years ago, Arron Banks, by far the biggest donor to the Brexit cause, and his colleague Andy Wigmore helped found Leave.EU, the campaign which had strong links to UKIP. Yet we now know that not long afterwards, the pair went to see the Russian ambassador to London and discussed investment in 6 gold mines. Today, they came to answer questions about those Russian links. You've got this deal to have an investment in Russian gold mines.
We put that deal to Peter Hambro, Lord Guthrie. They told us, don't touch Russia with a barge pole. So we didn't.
Then an ambush, aided by the press, from a Remain supporter bearing her own pork pies.
No more porky pies.
What would you like to say to us?
I'd just like you to, please, we don't need any more lies.
We're not telling lies.
What's the benefit in my children losing their freedom of movement?
Before long, the Brexiters had hijacked a Remain photo stunt. And so, before the committee even started, the witnesses had turned serious issues into one big laugh. The jokey tone continued inside when both men asked if Damien Collins should chair the hearing, given he'd accepted football tickets from Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich, a chum of Vladimir Putin.
So I wanted to make a suggestion. Perhaps you might want to recuse yourself.
But all I can say is, I got invited to the football. I didn't meet the owner, and I wasn't offered Stalin's vodka or.
But Damien, you do know how it looks. That you have hospitality, or you meet Russians, and then people write terrible things about it.
After that, it was all first names and rather chummy, as they admitted to misleading the press, to provocation and exaggeration, and even to lies, or so it seemed.
Between provocation and lies, Mr. Wigmore.
But there's also a sense of
Is there any difference?
There's lots of difference. If you're trying to sell something or put a good case over to somebody, you will tell the best story. If that's provocation or a lie, or a lie, if you want to call it that.
Sorry, is that how your side, the Leave campaign, won the referendum?
Operated on lies.
I'm sorry, you're allowed to have a sense of humour. You seem to be quite humorless, but you are allowed to have a sense of humour.
We were left not really knowing who or what to believe. They were asked very little, in fact, on their links with Russia, though they did deny any business deals there. And in the end, after nearly 3 hours, the Leave.EU team got up and left.
I'm sorry, but there it is.
For lunch with the DUP MPs from Northern Ireland. Or so they said.